see.
I thought I saw it too.
Yeah, I know. It was yesterday. Huh. Okay, the red light is on. It's time to move forward. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this April 15th Board of Supervisors meeting. I'd like to call to order at this time and ask Mr. Slay if he would do the invocation, please. Thank you.
Let's pray. Lord God, thank you for the day that you've given us. What a blessing it is to be before you, to stand before you, and to invoke your blessing on our time today. Father, what a privilege it is to serve our community. And these gentlemen have indicated, Lord, because they've made themselves available for service, they've indicated they want to serve this community. I pray, Father, that you'll give them what they need to do that. Father, that we would be effective in our service, that we would be mindful, Lord, that we're all in this thing together. Father, we need you, and we need your power and your presence with us. We need your help. We need your wisdom and your discernment today. Father, the men and women who are protecting us even right now, I pray for their safety and their protection. Bring them home to their families. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Okay, next we have public comment, and this is a really exciting time for Rankin County, and glad to have Pearl here. They'll be a part of this. So this time, a presentation for Chancellor Clerk. Well, Mr. Slay, you can handle it from here, I believe.
I jumped up here because y'all gave me the privilege of sort of introducing
that's right.
what we did for the Rankin County School District, and
Right.
I wanted to give the same level of attention to our friends at the Pearl School District. They were not left out in this process, and what a privilege it is to have with us today representatives from Pearl High School who are here with us. Superintendent of Education, Athletic Director are here. And I'm excited that they're able to be here today for us. I'm going to, Dr. Ray, y'all come on now. Both of you come on, and let's be prepared to have this presentation today. The Board of Supervisors and our Chancery Clerk are pleased to be able to make available, for purposes of supporting our athletics at our high schools in our county, funds that are generated from fees for service in Rankin County. The state sets the amount of the fees that are derived from those services, and we run an efficient operation here, really efficient operation. And what that does is it allows us to provide the services and have additional fee income that can then be made available through the county for purposes that the Attorney General has opined are appropriate. And so we put a process in place. Larry came and said, you know what, we can help out these schools and their athletics, especially their athletics, which sometimes may not get the level of attention and funds that we would like to give them, because we're all about trying to make sure we use our resources as best we can, and we'd like to have more to be able to do that. And so as an adjunct to that, as a support to that, this group decided we're going to take some of the excess fee income that's been generated, and we're going to make portions of that available for high school athletics. And that's exciting to think about. Our kids that are involved in high school athletics deserve that support. And so we're going to entrust the schools and the school districts, and especially Pearl, we're going to entrust them with some of this fee income and let them support their athletics as they believe is best. I want to say again how much I appreciate our Chancery Clerk running an efficient operation, number one, and then leading out in this effort to try to help us get the schools supported like they needed. And then you guys are being so responsive and thoughtful about your own districts and your communities. Of course, Jay was very active in his support of the Pearl School District. I don't know why he does that, but he does. He's pretty frequent about that. And so that has given us the ability to do this. I've got a check here. Mr. Superintendent, I don't know if you want to try to negotiate this. It'll probably be hard.
We'd like,
be hard
let them come up.
Come on up here.
Hey, I'd like to let y'all know, if you didn't know, Jay had something, wasn't able to make it at all. Sent me a message this morning, let you know that.
So, I want him to let you hold that. I want you guys to come to the school to hold the check. Like I said, I don't know that it's negotiable, but we're gonna put one in your hands right after this that is negotiable. Okay. And we're as pleased to pay you.
Anybody else?
Come on in here.
Just not quite a big group. Sheriff called the phone.
Always somebody with their eyes shut. Let me get your name.
Get her name, Aziz.
Let's see. What's your name? Richard. S-H, do it again. And what's your title? All right. Larry.
And this Larry Sweater.
I just hang them out here. You know this one?
What's your name? I know it, but I'm drawing a blank. What's your first name?
Right.
Right.
Is it Doctor?
Yes, sir. The only.
M-O-R-G-I-G,
M-O-R-G-I-G-N-O. And you are the superintendent, right? All right. I think we got it.
I just want to briefly thank you guys.
Hold up. Okay, go ahead.
But just briefly, I just want to say thank you guys. You guys are always so supportive of both Rankin County schools and Pearl schools, and it's we have a great county with great leadership, and we appreciate you guys. Also, thank you for sharing with athletics. They so many students, and there's so much research out there that students, that the more involved they are in the school system, and their time in sports and different activities, they do well, and we take a lot of pride in that. Each of our athletic programs, just so you know, junior high and high school, why athletics is so important is every one of our athletic teams, from volleyball to football to all things in between, every one of them have made the all-academic team, which means their team grade point averages of 3.0 or higher. So definitely there's the impact that extracurricular activities make. So thank you guys for supporting our students, and we
Yes, sir.
appreciate so much what you guys do.
All right, Carl, once again, you got a tough act to follow.
I do have a tough act to follow. Always makes me look bad, I think. I've got a few things to go over this morning with you guys. I start off with the chancery renovation, the old chancery renovation. As you know, last time we came before you telling you we'd found some wood structure that had to be, had some potential issues. One of my guys was out there yesterday, and we found that all the columns on the east side got steel structures, so we're not worried about them anymore. We're still there, so all we have to do now is get the sheetrock removed from those on the west side in the basement and look at that. We did see another one, a second column yesterday that already had been removed. That has some similar problems. Again, I'm not sure that it's going to be a major fix to it. But once we get they're going to finish removing all the sheetrock this week, I think. That's right, Keith. And we'll go back out there and look at those and bring a report to y'all on that. But as soon as we get a analysis of that and figure out what to do, we'll be ready to put this project out for bids. That's the only thing that's holding us up there. On the new courthouse, as you may be aware,
Just a minute, I'll ask something on the
Yeah.
old one. Did you say the ones in the basement were okay?
No, the ones in the basement on the east side, it's two buildings that were put together.
Right.
The ones on the east side are okay. They're still.
Okay.
After they had moved a couple of them, and then we drilled some holes. We had them drill some holes into some more, and they all appear to be steel columns.
Okay.
So we just
Right.
told them to stop taking it
Yeah,
off.
yeah, there's no need.
So it's only the ones on the west that we're looking at, and they'll have, today you said they'll have all those removed. We'll go
Okay.
back out there probably tomorrow.
All
or
right,
Monday.
I wasn't sure on the basement part,
Yeah.
but I got.
It's only, this whole issue's only at the basement. Everything up above is steel structure. I don't know the history of the building, except that it's old and it's been done in several phases over 100 years or so and been different things.
Okay,
So that's where we're at. On a new,
They've already approved the structural.
right.
Report and analysis, so that's the next step. Now that the, I guess the west side
Yeah.
has been opened up, the structural engineer can now go and evaluate those wood beams for us and give that report. Y'all already authorized that.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, go ahead, I'm sorry, Carl. Go
No, that's
ahead.
fine. On the Chancery, the new Chancery building, the new courthouse building, I guess I should say, as you may be aware, we've had a leak develop in the corridor on the first floor, back of house corridor on the west side. We're not 100% sure, but it appears that that's coming through the conduit, underground conduit. We're not exactly sure of the reason for that. We believe we know, but we're in the process of investigating it. But that has been, on the inside, all that conduit has been resealed. And as I'm aware of, we did not have any more water last night after the rain. But what we think is happening is you've got 2 junction boxes for conduit for basically telecommunications. You got one at the corner of North and Timberline, and then there's another one that goes over to the jail. And those have conduit in it. Now, we believe those conduit were sealed because we never had an issue with it for 8 months, but now it's our understanding that now that telecommunications has been pulled in there, water's getting into the building. So we think that the conduit on the boxes need to be resealed, but we need to get into that. And I know the IT guy, Scott's working on getting us permission to get into those boxes to look at it. And so we think that that's a, not a, once we seal all that again, or we may put a little drain out there at the boxes, that'll solve that problem. We're not having any roof leaks, knock on wood, no leaks anyplace else. It's a very unusual situation. All that has to be up higher than the building and get a head pressure to force that into the building. So we think we've got that, we hope we've got that pinned down, but we'll know as soon as we can get in those boxes and look. So that's where we're at. We have received a draft of the final pay application from the contractor. We're going through that right now to review it. Probably in the next week or so, we'll have all our paperwork done from them, and we'll coming back toward the end of the month, probably with a recommendation or at least an analysis to the board on that. There's still, just for your information, still $1.3 million, almost $1.4 million left in that contract. The third thing, which is kind of under Keith's agenda, the CMRLS building, y'all signed the contract, I got that. We're, contractors asked to start on that with a pre-construction meeting next week. Wednesday, I think on the 21st at 1:30, if this room's available, or if y'all are available, because we'd like to have you, Keith, and Ben and Craig. The pre-construction meeting, we just go through and establish all the parameters again. And they will be raising those air conditioning units, so we'll need to coordinate with the occupants of that building and schedule a time for when that system can be down. So that's getting ready to get started. We'll issue notice to proceed next week, and I think they've got 120 days, if I remember right, to complete that project. And then finally, guess I can answer some questions under Keith's. There's a request from us to y'all. We're trying to get, there's a 179D tax credit program that the federal government is pushing to get done, and specifically IRS has given incentives for energy efficient buildings. This was an act passed in 2005, but they just extended the tax credit portion last year. It's mainly aimed at building owners and designers who pay taxes. You can get a credit. Obviously, the county doesn't pay any taxes, so we're trying to get credit on that. Basically, it's a form that says that the building was built and completed and that we were the designers, because they've had some issues with people trying to get credits for buildings that weren't built or that somebody didn't design. So I think that's on Keith's agenda. If you have any questions, I can answer that, but it's simply a form stating that there's no responsibility from the county or anybody else to certify any of that. That's our job. In fact, it says it on the form. So I just want to pass that by you if you have any questions regarding that. That's all I've got right now, unless y'all got any other questions.
Carl, I have one question, if I may, if the board will allow me, and this goes back to our new courthouse situation with the water, stormwater intrusion, and trying to discover the source of it and then get it corrected. Obviously, we're still in the one-year warranty period with the contractor, and but that period expires in July, I believe July the 18th, if I remember correctly. Can we be assured that both the architect and the contractor will do whatever is required under the agreement, under the construction agreement, the construction contract, to trigger a continuing warranty obligation for that matter, in light of the fact that we're still trying to get it addressed?
We can. I cannot speak for the contractor, but you can get an extended warranty. But I will say, we don't know, to be honest with you, we don't know, the contractor is responsible for sealing everything on the inside of that building, for sure. And it was not completely sealed, so they've gone back and gotten that done. On the outside, we feel like it was sealed on the outside, since we did not have any leaking problems for 8 months, and all of a sudden, it's our understanding after the cabling was done, that's when the leaking started. So we don't know if the contractor was responsible for that, to be honest. We don't know who, we don't know, that's why we want to get in the box and look at it.
So I wanted to document on the record that Keith and I we went to the building this past week just to start looking further at where the intrusion could be and using our best guess. We engaged in a number of conversations with folks that have been in the building or are in the building, and we learned that, and it's hearsay, total hearsay, but according to one of the deputies that we spoke with, there was talk among some subcontractors that the issues we're having now actually manifested before substantial completion.
Oh, really?
That there in fact was water on that lower level during rain events before we ever occupied.
When we talking about water, is it little water or gallons of water?
It's enough that it covers a fairly significant surface area, Brad. Probably on the order of 500 square feet or more of surface area. I mean, talking about soaking in water on the ramps going up to the justice courtrooms, a number of other areas in there, probably 500 square feet when you include the hallways and that
Yeah,
type
it was
of
a
thing.
pretty good area. I mean, it
Yeah.
was a pretty good area. It's mostly on the vinyl tile and back
Yes.
into there.
Yes.
But
Yes.
now,
It,
yeah.
it seems to be related to storm events. It's not a leak
Heavy rain,
that would
flash
manifest, say, when you turn on a kitchen sink or something like that. But it's really hard to pinpoint the point of origin. It looks like it's that conduit, but there's some mystifying things that have happened there. The room in which that conduit is located appears to just stay dry,
Yeah.
which it mystifies because it's spreading
I say water
elsewhere
can come
in the
in here
building.
and track way over here.
Yes,
It's
sir.
hard. to
It's really hard.
identify. Yeah.
The area, the wall that is immediately adjacent to where the conduit comes up through the foundation, that wall is dry. Sheetrock is dry.
Huh.
Strange. You would think that the amount of water that we see that infiltrates, that makes its way, of course, I realize that could be a quarter inch, and over a period of time, it just makes its way and finds the lowest level, and that's where it settles. But the point that I make is this: we've heard hearsay, anecdotally, coming from allegedly a subcontractor oh yes, this happened before y'all occupied the building. So I wanted to get that on the record for the purpose of establishing that we think that the contractor is responsible to fix that problem, and that it's not a problem. We don't believe that it is 100% certain that this is AT&T's problem or C-Spire's problem or somebody out in the exterior boxes who have opened up conduit out there and didn't reseal them. So I'm smelling where that's headed, and I want the contractor to know that we believe and are ready to explore whether or not the leak manifested at a point in time before the AT&Ts and C-Spires were in those boxes. So I'm putting that on the record. We're not going to just simply accept we didn't have any issues with water before y'all occupied. Okay? So I want that clear. We're not ready to say we agree with that. And what I'm really anxious about is us getting something in writing from the general contractor and or our architect, or us doing it if it's required, that documents that the warranty period for this purpose we expect to extend for a significant period of time, so that if we have continuing water intrusion in that general area, we will expect the general contractor to deal with it and to fix it, even if it's 2 years from now. That's what I'm getting at.
If we go 2 years, 5 years from now, we could
Yeah.
have a big.
At some point, Brad, I think we're gonna be subject to an argument that we've, in good faith, we've used all the warranty period that we're entitled to. At some point, it becomes our building, and we have to
Right.
deal with it. And I don't know what that magic number is, but at least 2 years from the termination of the initial 1-year warranty seems reasonable to me, to make sure that we are covered for any water intrusion in that area. I'm not saying if water intrudes in some other spot of the building that necessarily we have a discussion, but if we keep getting water at that same spot, I want the general contractor to be responsible to get it repaired.
How do we do that
Well,
what kind of retainage we hold, or what do we do?
Well, they're under warranty, you can
Right.
retain it, but this is what's gonna be needed. If there is a leak, it needs to be documented, because, as I said, we went 8 months and hadn't been notified of any leaks. And that's gonna be problematic. If there were leaks, and it could have been leaks prior to them getting the building fully enclosed, but it's problematic to me. It would be to prove and getting the contractor to agree, in my opinion, if they weren't notified of any leaks prior to
Well,
that's where the problem's gonna be.
Where's it coming from?
But we
I know.
think it is we don't know the source, to be honest with you. We think it is coming up to the conduit, or was coming up to the conduit. They were out there and resealed it this week, Tuesday.
Yep.
So,
Hopeful that fixed it, really
Yeah.
hopeful that fixed it.
Okay.
Encouraged that yesterday's rain event, which was pretty significant, didn't manifest any water intrusion, and that was after they sealed it on the inside. Okay, so we may have backed into getting it solved. Obviously, as
good.
legal counsel, my number one job is make sure we get protected for the what ifs, not just the what is. It's the what ifs, and I want to make sure that we're as protected as we can be. We're going to have an opportunity over the next several weeks to probably have some pretty interesting conversations with our general contractor anyway over
sure
this
we
final
will.
pay application, and maybe all of these things can be addressed.
Right.
and I think they do need to be addressed. I do agree with you. Going forward, though, if there is any type of problems with anything not working, because they do have a 1-year warranty, but especially with the leaks, it needs to be documented and sent to us, because that's gonna be the,
Is somebody going in this room every day? Is this like a
We-
closet, a broom closet?
We put a camera in there that's recording now, so we will have a history of what's going on. We've added a water or liquid detector that will send a signal as soon as it gets wet. We're trying to stay on top of it. One additional item that we just found out about, there is because of all the water sitting on the floor, there's some floor damage now that the tile's starting to come up, so that's gonna have to be
Yeah,
addressed.
that'll have to be, that can be done on warranty.
Last Saturday, and I think this is important for you guys to know, I really wish Jay and Daniel were here to hear this. That last Saturday, we had a deputy go to the building on a day off because he was concerned about the rain event we got on the Friday night prior. And he videotaped the water damage and preserved it for us. So I wanted to compliment our sheriff especially, but our deputies who go above and beyond and take concerns over things that really aren't in their wheelhouse. That's just his place of employment, isn't it, Sheriff? He wanted to make sure his workplace was protected, and I really appreciated that about him, and I think it speaks volumes.
Well, we do have there is a camera in that corridor, and you can, on the first event, we went through it. It did, you could show it, you could see it coming out of basically the IT room or underneath that wall. But as Keith said, the IT room floor was dry. I was there that morning. So it is strange that water coming in there. It could be that the floor gradually slopes back to the break room because there was water in the break room. So that the conduit comes up in between in the wall between the IT room and the break room, and the video camera showed it coming out underneath that wall. So, and we checked. The maintenance people checked. There was no roof leaks, no window wall leaks, no anything. It was all just on that floor right there, and so that's why it appears to be coming through that conduit. But we still got some investigation to do.
It's the break room is on the other side of the wall.
And there was water that came about 4 feet out from the wall, so it was, the window wall, first thing I thought was there was a leak through the window wall unit, but it wasn't. It was dry 8 feet from there, and the window wall unit was dry. There was no damage on the ceiling tiles. It's just, the water's coming apparently up. And the only place it can come up is through the conduit, unless there's something in the floor slab that we're not aware of, a major crack, which, so.
There's
Well,
there's gonna be there's gotta be some water lines running in there to the sinks, and there's no sink or commode.
We checked the sink, we checked underneath there, we checked the refrigerator,
Drains.
we checked, my original thought was there, in the IT room, it has an air conditioning unit to keep all the equipment.
Yeah, condensate.
But it was dry, and it's way more water than the condensate would produce, so we pretty much, Steve, have eliminated everything but this. Now, that doesn't mean something else doesn't pop up.
It was between 50 and 75 gallons easy, that drained out onto the floor.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't-
I just asked them to keep track of what they were vacuuming it up, and that's what they got up, was between 50 and 75 gallons off the floor.
We looked into the possibility of a broken water line, but if that was the case, it would
It'd
be
be
there
all
constantly.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Craig said, it's happened, the 2 times that I'm aware of, it's happened after major rain events.
I'm thinking maybe a drain pipe, if it's not that, I don't know. It's just,
To be honest, we don't really
Nobody-
know.
don't know
We're
about
gonna
it.
keep pursuing it till we find out, but,
Does it do it when it's more just a significant rain?
that's the only time we've
Well,
been
that's kinda like
notified.
what Steve was saying, if it's a significant rain, that drain pipe, I don't know how it is, they're working over there, but if it can't take something's restricting it, then it backs back up.
It,
I mean, I don't know if there's one even in the area.
if there's a sink or a commode, there's a drain pipe.
There's probably is a stormwater drain pipe that runs by and can come up. I have not gotten into the box. Those boxes typically do not have a floor to them. They're just set there as a junction. And so if water is being backed up into that box and then is creating a pressure through the conduit, that could possibly be the cause. But again, we don't know. that's what we need to get into the
It's
box.
pushing that much water, like you'd be watching it percolate up through
You
there.
would, and, you know, the boxes got tops on them, so it's not like the rain is coming down
Right.
there. It would have to be seeping in through the ground or being pushed up.
I got you.
Or the other option is the box, and I'm not sure where it is at the jail, but there is a junction box at the jail for the conduit. The idea was to run the conduit all the way back, I think, to the control. And so that box is probably 10, 15 feet above the finished floor of the courthouse. So if there's enough water pressure coming in there, but now, when it hits that box, those pipes aren't connected. So it has to spill into that box. So we're doing detective work right now.
Okay.
We're just-
Well, all I can do is keep watching, but I'm glad we got it documented. It's obviously a issue. And then a bad thing when it stops, summer comes, it dries up, it may not leak anymore
That's correct.
until you get, because right now the ground's saturated.
Yes, hence my commentary about the extension of the warranty to give us a
Okay,
period of time to watch it and to address it, to be somewhat confident. I think it's a small ask, maybe a year or so,
okay,
to get us through the next rainy season.
okay.
We're gonna keep investigating till we figure
Right.
out that it's the sheriff that's dumping water on us somehow. Go all the
Okay.
way back to the jail.
All right, well, thank you, Carl.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to approve old business minutes?
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Brad. This will be easy. Be second by one of the others?
Yeah.
Yeah, motion, all right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
All right, I do have a question, just clarity on this, consent agenda. And Mike, you can answer it. I see you got quite a few, increases in the road department. And what's confusing, what I guess really drew my attention, I thought we had talked about not doing any raises because we couldn't do raises for everybody this year. And I
I'm
know,
glad to talk about that, Jared. I think we talked about it one-on-one here a while back ago. I mean, I budgeted for this in my budget. So I've got the money in my budget to do this. And we had a little money left over, it wasn't much. And prior administrator, Ms. Laura Oster, we sat down, we had X amount of money and we budgeted and did that on it. And I've talked to most of y'all about it, we just kind of been doing a little alone, as I see.
what's this total up to? I mean, are
I don't
these
know, I've
big
got a
increases?
number that I'm working within with Miss Laura on that she had gave me from the beginning, and we had discussed what we was gonna do, and this wouldn't oversee my budget.
Yeah. The only thing, I just knew we didn't do raises straight across, and I didn't know how the rest of the crew would feel if they're not all getting a raise, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think he's been putting a few on each month or so, ain't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was all. I just knew last time in here, you had like, I don't know, 12 or 15. We only did so many and we talked about it. And so it came up, got this many. And I know a week or so, I don't know, back a little bit, a while ago, we did another one. So I was just curious about that. Because if they all, I don't want one to feel like he's not getting something. Because I think they all deserve more than they get
Absolutely.
paid. But I don't want some to feel like they're left out.
I agree with you, and some of this is advancement. I mean, one of them's on there. I mean, he's moved in that position, he's gotten one raise since he's moved in one of those positions, and when we discussed about moving in that position, we was gonna get him, as I felt like he growed, I would give him, some more money.
Right.
So, I mean,
Well, that was all. I just was curious about that. Yep, okay. No.
Second.
Had a motion by Steve, second by Brad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're gonna wait. We're gonna do that in executive. Okay, John Sullivan.
Item A, petition to change the assessment of 2020 real and personal property assessment roll.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And item B, request to void the 2019 tax sale for erroneous assessment and refund tax sale purchaser for PPI number 61274.
Motion approved.
Motion by-
Second.
Approved by Brad, second by Steve. All in favor say aye. Aye.
And item C, request authority for 2 of my employees to go to certified appraiser school.
Is this the one that's, in your budget, or
I mean, I have money in my budget.
are we going to amend the budget?
We make an adjust from line items.
I make a motion approved.
Second.
Second by Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Mike Harrison.
I need to ratify permit AT&T for, Spillway Road and Parkway Road.
Motion. You want to do it, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
I think we take, B, C, D, and E all as one. All ceasefire telepack network is together. It's different districts. The last one, E would be District 3 instead of 4. That's not corrected on y'all's.
Okay.
We'll take those under approval.
Make
All
a
right.
motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Brad, second by Steve. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
I think that's it. While I'm up here though, we got to check with some state aid, but I wanted to go ahead, Steve, I talked to you earlier about this, get it added to the agenda. About that on Trickham Bridge, you want to do that now, so when we get approval, we can change it, or you want to wait? See
What
what
we
the state
talking
aid
about?
says. On the speed limit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would like to.
We got some speed limit variation on the state aid road.
Speed limit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes from 30,
Oh.
35, 45, 30, and I'd just like to make it 35
Yeah.
all the way on the county.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just up, you know,
Yeah.
But I need
That's
to-
the city limits, so.
we can't do.
We can't do nothing
do
in the
that.
city limits, but we'll
Yeah,
do our
make it one
part.
speed.
Yeah.
But what I want to do was, well, I have to add this, but to change the speed limit on Trickham Bridge upon state aid approval.
Yeah.
We have to get approval from state aid, but I have to adjust the speed limit or add a stop sign, I gotta get
I mean,
y'all's
it's
approval.
not like it's some vicious curve, they gotta slow it down in, it just, is it? I mean,
No,
That
it's-
is weird, up and down, yeah,
So we'll be lowering it from 45 to 35.
well.
And the
now
thing,
that's gonna create a lot of, that might not be good, 'cause
well, it's just right down the road, it drops to 35.
I'm talking
30.
about everybody, that, you get a lot of phone calls about that one.
Well, I mean, we've got, Baker Lane, it's a straightaway and it's, I mean, it's like a drag strip through there at times. And I know that changing the speed limit sign is not gonna,
They're gonna be screeching the brakes, aren't they?
I don't think so. But the people.
The
that-
road wasn't
it-
so good, they couldn't go that fast.
I don't know how you can go that fast.
I mean, the road-
But anyhow, the people out there will feel safer just to see it.
All right.
And
Yeah, I mean,
I've
there's
got-
a lot of growth and a lot of
Yeah.
different
There is a,
done since that was posted and done, but what I'd like to do is add that to the agenda,
All right,
and then y'all approve it, and then upon state aid approval on it.
have a motion to add this to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to add it
Motion
to
by
the agenda.
Brad,
Second.
second by Steve, to add to the agenda, all in favor say aye. All opposed, motion approved.
Make a motion approved.
Approved by
Second.
Brad, second by Steve, all in favor say aye. All opposed.
Hey, Mike, while you're there, I got a call last night.
Yes, sir.
We got a bunch of signs that got torn down and removed off of Clarefoot, Henry Cannon, and they getting them all. So I don't know.
Oh, I know it, I mean, I probably had over 40 missing in Robin Hood the other day.
So if somebody's going around, and I don't know what we can do, but we need, if we can figure it out, we need to prosecute them to the max.
Are they unscrewing them, taking the post
They
up?
taking
They
posts,
taking everything.
Yeah, 'cause you,
everything.
yeah,
Well,
they
what the
learn.
problem is, I mean, we all know it, scrap prices done gone up, aluminum's higher, steel's higher.
Well, I feel like we need to get some cameras out on some of these places that's
So,
inactive. That way we can, might catch who's doing it.
so we,
We'll have to come up with a different, with, you know, some type of sign that isn't desirable for metal processing,
Let me ask you this,
carbon fiber or something.
do they make one, a post, you know, that kinda augers in the ground, be a lot harder to pull up?
Well, they'll run over it with the truck or pull it out.
yeah, I
and
mean,
run
the
with
problem is,
Well,
the problem is,
the
Derek,
truck.
you gotta use a post that is a breakaway
Right.
type post.
Yeah.
The posts we use are metal posts, so if a car hits one,
They bend
it shears
over.
off or it splinters, it breaks.
Most of them.
So, I mean, all
bend
you gotta
over,
do
yeah.
is just
Right.
really hook a chain on it, snatch it
What do
real
we-
good, and
It's
it's gonna break
costing the
off.
taxpayers a lot of money to keep replacing
Oh,
these
And I
signs.
bet we've been replacing them long.
I think we ordered those
Plantation
days,
Shores.
40 road signs,
Yeah.
road name signs the
I
other
know.
day.
Some kind of composite material or some, surely there's something out there that they're
And
working on.
I'll look into that, but
That's not, sellable,
Yeah,
except for the
yeah.
post.
Yes, sir.
No, I mean, do a plastic post.
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, we're using everything we can, this,
I
some
know.
kind of locking mechanism that, I mean, they just.
Brad the
now they
bolt,
just-
I mean, mess the threads up on the bolts, the whole thing, I know.
Hey, they stole the whole brand new bleachers out there at one of the baseball parks over in Jacksonville.
And
The bleachers,
The whole bleacher, gone.
Aluminum bleacher.
aluminum. Well, I bet that was easy to detect at the can, man.
The nighttime job, obviously.
And the email that Waste Management sent Janice while I'm up here yesterday, I mean, I know Brad got it, I wanna let him know, most of the, I mean, that's all private roads.
What's
We
that?
don't,
The
they
garbage.
sent a
Oh, we
thing
got- I
for
talked
garbage
to
the
him.
other day, they couldn't get down these roads, well, that's private roads, we don't maintain those roads. Where they have,
You know, Collins Drive.
No,
No.
we talking
Oh.
about
These was the
off
list of
of,
roads.
off of Clarefoot
Oh,
and, one off of Henry Cannon,
Yeah.
Road.
Yeah, they just
All
all
of them
private drives, and
that
I just-
Garbage couldn't go down the other day.
won't let
I mean, that's the
people know.
but that's the garbage people's discretion.
That's right.
We don't tell them to. And because some of them have said, well, they go down such and such. I said, well, it's a private, they're gated, but they let him come
Got
in.
an agreement. That's correct.
But I'll look into the sign deal, Brad, on that.
Have we got our sign machine in yet? No?
It's on order. Yeah. We're still working through the details and everything.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Maybe, don't they make a fiberglass? Couldn't you stamp it out of some fiberglass?
I think you could.
Seems like I've seen some broken before and it looked like they're fiberglass.
Tim's the engineer, he should know. Do they
I'll
make
look into it. I'm not aware of any fiberglass signs though that,
But I've seen some broke before somewhere that look to me more like there's some type of composite material.
Right.
They're not just bent back.
Can-
Had to see the splinters out of them.
right.
I don't know where, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like I remember those years ago, but I don't know if it was cost prohibitive or what, but I don't, it's not the industry standard now. We'll certainly look into it and see if we can talk to the sign folks, see if we can find something.
Well, that is I mean, it's been this way as long as I've been elected. The signs are, whether they put them in the house with the name on. But like I said, sometimes they just pull the post up and they go throw them in a ditch,
Sure.
the whole thing. So, anyway, all right, go ahead, Tim.
All right, thank you,
Carry
Mr.
on.
President. The first item we have is Lone Pine Plantation. We're recommending approval of the preliminary plat. That's a District 4 development. It's off of a couple of notes on it. It's off of, it's on Mount Helm Road. The entire development fronts Mount Helm Road, so there'll be no construction drawings or anything. The next step will be a final plat. But Mount Helm in that area is gravel, and the county policy recently has been for the developer, when they're developing on a gravel road like that, to have some fiscal responsibility to when that road gets paved. So we'll work with the developer, and the conversations we had with him were quite a while back. before the county started that policy. So we'll have those conversations between the preliminary plat and the final plat. So we're recommending approval of the preliminary.
Tim and I went over this and agreed that they should have some responsibility in the pavement of the roads when they putting these new subdivisions in. And, I think we're gonna be fine. We just put that in there.
That's off of Mount Helm, you said?
Yeah.
That's where it is.
All right,
Is that before, I'm just curious, is that before or after the rubbish?
let's go past it.
After it.
Yeah. All those, Mount Ham, Stoll, Stump Bridge, all of those, generally the people that live on that end go down and hit Holly Bush is closer.
Right.
And come in from that direction.
I was just curious, because I know
Yeah, it is, but it's past,
the rubbish.
yeah.
Okay. All right, you make,
Motion.
Steve made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Brad. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
The second item, Mr. President, is Old Magnolia subdivision. This is a subdivision in Puckett. We're recommending approval of the final plat and the letter of credit in the amount of $83,420. We don't have the letter of credit in hand yet, but Mr. Slay has reviewed a draft copy of it, and I talked to the developer this morning, and he's supposed to get it to our office either today or by the first of the week, and we'll hold the signature. We don't have the plats either to sign, so, and it's my understanding that Puckett has signed them, and then we'll be the last ones to sign them. But we'll certainly hold the signatures there until we get the letter of credit in hand.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Brad, second by Steve. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed?
Thank you, Mr. President. The third item is the action plan for closed and posted bridges in Rankin County. It actually, thankfully, is not dealing with any closed bridges because we don't have any. But that's just the name state aid has attached to it. And we're recommending approval of that plan, and we talked about several months ago when we started some of these bridge repairs, that when we started programming the state aid projects, the state aid would probably need a plan of action from the county on how they were addressing bridges that were posted in order to spend the state aid monies on something besides bridge replacements. I sent y'all a copy of the plan this week. There are, I think, 17 posted bridges in the county. Only 5 of them are on a state aid route. So that's really the ones they're concerned with. But we have a plan of action that addresses those bridges. Those bridges actually, even though they're posted, aren't the ones with, you may have seen in the plan of action, that we referenced some items in the bridge inspections, item 58, 59, and 60. Those items are more critical than just being posted. And that's what the county has been doing, is addressing the bridges that have the low inspection numbers. And kudos to you guys, because I think we've done a great job so far, working with Mike and getting some bridges replaced and getting some plans to replace some. So we feel like the plan will be satisfactory for state aid. We're certainly not neglecting anything. And there's a long-term and a short-term plan for all of them on the SAP route. It's outlined in that plan. And we're recommending approval of that so we can send it to state aid. And upon their approval of that, they'll release our 2 programs, which is a overlay and a micro seal and ultra thin.
Do you need a motion? Yes, sir. Motion to
Motion
approve.
by Steve, second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? I was wondering why I was on there, because I didn't think we had any that were to that point.
Yeah, no, we obviously have some posted, and the
Right.
issue is you calculate that with a formula that state aid gives you, and it's not necessarily a dangerous bridge, it just calculates to where it has to be posted for a limit. So, we're addressing the ones that have some critical members or things like that have a low inspection rating.
And you said that we had 5 on state aid roads?
Yes, sir.
And with 2, which we've already done, would that leave 3, or we still?
I think, I'm not sure, let's see, on the state aid routes, we've got 2 on White Road, 1 on Wade Patrick, 1 on Cold Bluff, and 1 on Greenfield. The Greenfield Road one is replaced.
Okay.
So we've still got 4.
Okay.
And the 2, or at least one of the 2 on White Road, there's some calculations with a 19-foot span that's an older span that kicks those into a posted, the bridges, they're not in bad shape. It's just that when you calculate the limits, they have to be posted.
Talking
So-
about the other side of,
in the
State
flat
Creek?
there, yes, sir. Those 2 bridges are right back to back, those relief
Yeah,
bridges,
right.
yeah.
What about that one on Ehrlich? I thought it came up in there because it.
Yes, it's just,
really-
it's not on the state, it's one of the
Oh,
other,
yeah,
in the
not on
plan,
the
it's
state
one of the
aid,
other
right.
12. And
Yeah.
it's actually referenced in here that, it's been authorized for design, 'cause you know, we've been looking at a box
Right.
culvert on that one, so.
It really is not heavy enough for the garbage truck or the school bus to be crossing.
That's right.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Tim, while we're on this bridges and state aid, this is not really yours, but it is with the bridges. Craig, can we really lobby, beg the state, federal to allow us to use some of that $30 million on the requirements that the state aid has put on us for for bridges? I mean, if we could,
We don't know yet, I don't think.
I know we don't know, but if we could get ahead of them
Right.
and say, y'all are making us do this, now let us, use a little of this money.
Yes, sir. So 2 weeks ago, Steve, I submitted on behalf of the board a formal request to each of our federal delegation for that very thing, for them to use their efforts to influence the decision makers at the Department of Treasury
Yes.
to include that very language on Rankin County's behalf, that we would be allowed to use those funds, which are called Rescue Plan Act funds, Rescue Plan Act funds. I mentioned that so that we can keep that separated in our mind, because it gets confusing when you think about CARES Act money, which we're already utilizing. This is the different set that we haven't gotten yet, that we think we're gonna get sometime next month, middle of May. We will get that first tranche, about half of the roughly 30 million that we're anticipating. So basically 15 million. What we don't have right now, Steve, is that even if we get the money, if Treasury has not set the regulations, we can't utilize the money.
Yeah.
All right, your state auditor has already indicated and put out a warning that no county, no municipality should spend any rescue plan money until Treasury speaks.
Yep.
He said, put it in a separate account and let it sit there, right?
Yes.
And if you don't do that, he said, there will be repercussions.
Yep.
So, we're gonna do that. We're gonna get the money in, we're gonna segregate it, and it's gonna sit there, and we're gonna wait on Treasury. In the meantime, we're using everything we know, we're pulling out all the stops that we know to specifically have a regulation included in the Treasury guidance that says counties can use the money, the rescue plan money, for bridge repair, maintenance, installation, etc. That's a
Wonderful.
specific request.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
it's in place. I don't know what else we can do at this stage.
Yeah.
Unless maybe try to find somebody at Treasury that we know directly, that may actually be writing the regs.
Yeah.
That'd be the only thing that I can think of we hadn't done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Item D, Mr. President, is, excuse me, North Shore Landing Phase 4. We're recommending approval of the construction drawings. That's a District 2 development.
okay.
Everything's good with you and Daniel?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve.
All right, motion approved by Steve,
I'll second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Slade, thank you, Tim.
Gentlemen, items A, B, C, and D under my section are to set public hearings for April the 29th at 9 a.m. Each of those four are for the same date and time. I'd ask you to take A, B, C, and D together, please.
I'll make a motion to set A, B, C, and D.
All right, motion set,
April
motion to set public hearings, A, B, C, and D by Brad.
Second.
Second by Steve. Any discussion? Not, all in favor say aye. All opposed?
Item E under my section, Mr. President, is the public hearing on the Brandon Chapman conditional use permit at 1222 Old Fannin Road, Suite B, District 5. We'll open that public hearing. Mr. Chapman Dash Auto House is seeking a conditional use permit to operate a vehicle sales business at 1222 Old Fannin Road, Suite B. It's a 1.50 acre parcel, is zone C2. Dash Auto House is an internet dealership that markets vehicles online as well as on site. The site plan shows a designated gravel concrete area in front of the building where a maximum of 9 cars will be parked for sale. The remaining inventory will be housed in a warehouse area of the building, the application inside a warehouse. The application lists hours of operation Monday through Friday, 9 to 5:30, Saturday from 9 to 2, closed on Sunday. That public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Brandon Chapman conditional use permit request. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter?
There's been, I just text again and there's still no one out.
No one out there, so neither the applicant nor anybody opposed is here. We would, your staff has indicated one recommended condition to be applied on the conditional use among our standard conditions that we normally have. But the condition would be this: because it's C2 and because Mr. Bishop specifically has indicated that there are a number of outside storage locations in this immediate vicinity, Jay feels strongly that we need to start paring back and pulling back on outside storage. We've got a number of used car dealerships in this area. The market, in essence, in that area in particular, appears to be saturated with used car dealerships and with exterior storage. You've got a marine servicing facility that's there. They got boats for outside storage and other things. Jay believes that that the zoning, that the classification of land use in that area is sufficient with outside storage and conditional use outside storage, that this particular use would not be necessary for outside storage. And so Jay encouraged the placement of no outside storage or display of vehicles placed for sale.
Didn't he
would be
say
a
that
condition.
the other day?
Yes, sir.
He agreed to that, I think.
Actually, I didn't see an indication of agreement. What we did, though, was in his presence at our review time, Jared, we indicated that we
Yeah,
anticipated this condition.
I don't think he acted like he,
Okay.
I think he,
I just couldn't tell
yeah, I think he was
whether he
like
agreed or not.
understanding and agreeing
So-
to it.
I remember.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so that would be the condition. We would ask that you would consider approval of this. I know Jay's not here. That puts you guys in a difficult position. I haven't spoken to Jay directly since our initial discussion, but he indicated to me that as long as no outside storage was a condition, he didn't have a problem with the
Yeah,
conditional
I think
use.
you're right.
I make a motion that we approve with no outside storage, and there might
Display.
there may be, Jay likes some vegetation or
Yep.
some outside,
Privacy
yeah,
fence or something.
things like that.
Yep.
I don't know whether, a buffer type, something that just to,
Appropriate landscaping.
yep.
Yes.
I'll second.
You want to hold up
I
on it
did.
and send him a message?
I did.
Double check?
I did.
Okay. He hadn't answered yet?
He did.
Okay. So you're good?
That's the only way that he'll want it.
Okay.
And
All right.
So we'll approve it with those conditions, Steve. I just need a motion and a
Okay.
second to approve it with those conditions.
So you've had a
I did.
motion by Steve, second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
All right, we'll close that public hearing if it wasn't closed. Item F under my section is a public hearing on our map corrections. This is a county-initiated map correction. County is initiating this map correction for two parcels on Highway 468 owned by Hendra Harrist and Andrew Harrist. Both of these properties have a single-family home on them. The properties adjoin Duncan Mobile Home Park to the north and Country Meadows Manufactured Home Park on the west. These two parcels are currently zoned MHP, Manufactured Home Park, and the proposed change will be from MHP to RE1A, Residential Estate. The existing land use map and future land use map show both of these properties as medium-density residential rather than high-density, and that would be required for a mobile home park. And also, there's no sewer that's available to these sites, and that would support the MHP classification. The adjoining property to the south is also zoned RE1A. So we would need a motion to initiate that county-initiated map correction.
I'll make that motion.
second,
All right. Motion made by Brad, second by Steve. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye. All opposed?
We'll close that public hearing. Item G is a public hearing on the Rankin County rezoning request for Freedom Farms Phases 2 and 3. I'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here that is intending to speak on the public hearing for the Rankin County rezoning request for Freedom Farms. Is there anyone here to speak on that matter? Okay. Gentlemen, county's initiating a rezoning for the Freedom Farms Phases 2 and 3 from Ag A1 to RE1 development. In Ag, in our A1s, we don't allow residential subdivision development, and so we're trying to correct that oversight. Phase 2 contains 6 lots, Phase 3 is 13 lots. The final plats for Phases 2 and 3 were approved by the board on November the 16th of 2020, so we're basically just catching our zoning ordinance up with what we've already done for Freedom Farms.
Okay.
So I would, in light of the fact no one's here to speak on that matter, we'll close that public hearing and be appropriate to take action.
This is a great way to do it because we get to look now and see what's out there.
Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
really, really nice.
Turned out nice, didn't it?
Really nice. I mean, good. But I'm joking with that. I make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Steve.
Second.
Second by Brad. All in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed?
Okay. The next item under my section is item H, the public hearing on the Kazakh Properties LLC conditional use permit request, 130 Baker Lane, District 4 property. I will open that public hearing. I know that there are individuals here to speak on that matter. Radam and Kerry Kazakh are seeking a conditional use permit for a commercial office warehouse development at 130 Baker Lane. They own a 7.47 acre parcel of property zoned C2. They want to see if they can be approved for this use before they obtain detailed drawings on the site. Preliminary site plan shows the proposed layout of buildings and pictures of the buildings, and they will be similar, that is, I'm sorry, let me read here. Renee, I'm trying to read through
I'm
this.
just saying.
Be similar to it, to those that are included in the application,
Right,
right?
okay.
You've already seen those. The 2 buildings that front on Baker Lane will be similar to buildings on the East Business Park Drive. It's off of Highway 80. In Brandon, both buildings will be full brick on the front and sides. An 8-foot privacy fence is to be installed along the east property line. A buffer area with existing trees will be maintained along the south property line. So we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition on the Kazakh Properties LLC conditional use permit request. Is anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. Baker?
Position is, I'm here on behalf of interested parties, the Lucers and the Caraways. And our position is not so much in opposition as it is into the completeness of the application that is presently before the board with regard to the conditional use request. Previously, when we were before the board, we had some concerns that we addressed with regard to the nature of the development as it pertained to the exterior of that development as it faced Baker Lane. We had concerns with regard to the nature of the development as it pertained to lighting issues with regard to the entirety of the development. We had concerns with regard to the development with regard to the bottom portion of the development that is this somewhat home plate looking area.
I remember.
What I submit to the board is that the fundamental concept, while it may be something that the board ultimately approves, is you're without sufficient information at this time. I would submit to the board that you have an excellent ordinance in place to address these issues now as opposed to later. And let me speak to that. The applicant is before you seeking a conditional use. Because of that, you have the opportunity to address or have each of these questions addressed for you before you move from the public hearing phase to the consideration of the application phase. And you can incorporate what you learn in the public hearing as a condition of the granting of the conditional use. Without that information in the public hearing phase, you're then presented information post-public hearing, which is not here, that we have to then incorporate into the record. And while the Lucers and the Caraways are not trying to be difficult in this case, and they have had conversations with the applicants, and I think ultimately these things are going to work out, we don't have sufficient information at this time. With regard to that bottom portion, there are some wetlands issues and some water issues involved that I think require particular investigation and information before the board. Now, I'm not sure this entails the use of a hydrologist or an engineer or what, but there does need to be some information presented to the board so you're not in a situation where you're creating a problem down the road. I would further submit that if the board were inclined to find, as we would submit to you that you should, that that bottom home plate area not be developed and not be impacted, then the next question is how do you incorporate that into your approval process, not only by an order of this board, but also by something that appears in the land records for future purchasers of that property or developers of that property, if the applicants ever decided to sell, to ensure that there was public notice with regard to this particular issue, and then that wouldn't otherwise be resolved until it was represented to the board for consideration and the adjoining landowners given notice. Things like the veneers and the site plans and things like that, while you do have renderings, you don't have anything that's terribly specific to this project. You have what other projects might be. And I get that there's an effort involved to try to to reduce the upfront expense outlay by the applicants. But this is the opportunity for them to actually put the whole thing on the table so the board can consider it, and then we can give you the input that's necessary to that. And those things may in fact all resolve by the lighting plan that's submitted, the development plan that's submitted, the plan that they're going to submit with regard to the non-use of the bottom portion, the plan that they're going to submit with regard to the actual look of how this is going to appear on Baker Lane. And so for these reasons, I would submit to the board that regardless of what happens today, unless all of this information is presented that we can then address, which I don't think it's ready yet, but I would ask that the board not close this public hearing, but rather recess the public hearing to a date certain. That way you don't have to republish or anything like that. Recess it to a date certain and give the applicants the opportunity to present the information to you and to give us sufficient time to respond. Again, I want to stress that they're neighbors, and while this sounds a lot like opposition, what it really is more of a fact-finding effort. And I think that ultimately, if the information is presented, that everybody will be able to come together to figure out a solution so this project can go forward. Thank you.
Mr. Baker, let me ask, Mr. President, is okay? Mark, I'm curious, would in terms of dealing with the what we're calling the home plate section of the parcel, do you think it would be appropriate to consider maybe a set of restrictive covenants that imposes at least some sort of requirement on the part of any property owner subject to that piece of property or owning that piece of property to come back before the Board of Supervisors for authority to develop any portion of that home plate area?
Right, yes, Greg, and that's kind of what I was thinking. At some point, maybe we would ask the applicants, because we don't actually have that area particularly defined. We know it, but we don't have a meets and bounds on that. Mm-hmm. That actually they self-impose a restrictive covenant on there that we can draft up that says, hey, this is, we'll come up with the language.
That's an option to deal with that.
I do think it's an option, okay. And candidly, regardless, I do think that this particular tract that we're talking about, if we don't address it now, at some point it's going to have to be addressed because it's going to create a problem. And the bigger concern that I have as somebody that is involved in board attorney for a municipality and see things that are approved in 2000 that come back in 2020, the names and the faces change, and so it's hard to remember and going back in the minutes and remember exactly what happened. And so I think that's one example of the things we can do. Obviously, the site plan will be something that will be resolved on the upfront, and so that's something that will be resolved. And I think actually the lighting is something that we can approve that can be in a board minute. But with regard to the covenant aspect about that development of that bottom half, we're going to have to get to that pretty close. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Is there anyone else who is speaking, and I'm saying in opposition, but who has issues that they want to address with the board with respect to this application? Anyone that would be kind of in opposition or want more information? Okay. Mr. President, I don't see anyone else to speak in opposition. I think it'd be appropriate to give the applicants an opportunity to address the board now.
Okay.
please give your name and address for the record. We didn't make Mr. Baker do that because we all know who he is and where he stays.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are y'all
Good
doing?
I'm Radim Kizik,
I'm Carrie.
Yes, please.
132 Virginia Valley, Brandon. And this is my wife Carrie Kizik. And, gosh, well, we had, we went here couple of weeks ago and we were asked to contact the Carways and Lucers about the property. And gosh, we thought if we had a good visit with them. Basically, wasn't expecting any kind of opposition today because we had understanding how we're gonna develop it. And as Mr. Baker said, you know, obviously we don't want to spend a lot of money up on front to have it all engineered and designed without having any kind of idea if this is gonna get approved or not.
Right.
So we actually do have a couple of quotes from civil engineering firms already, you know, for this. So, but all that said, we, you know, until we really know whether we can go in this direction, then you know.
And obviously, obviously with Mr. Lucer, we did agree on the buffer in the back. We have zero problem with that. In fact, I think that's a great idea, especially if we are dealing with wetlands. I also think it's a great idea what Mr. Baker said as far as setting a covenant so that if we ever were to sell the property, that couldn't be developed in the back. We are totally in agreement with that. And I also am in agreement with Mr. Baker if y'all would be willing to give us more time to, you know, to get everything ready. Obviously, we didn't have enough time to get, you know, full renderings of what the buildings would look like and the lighting and all that. We just didn't have the time to be able to do
Right.
that from the first till today.
Right.
But are very willing to work with y'all, to work with the Caraways, to work with the Losers. We want this project to work, and we want it to look great because we live there. I mean, we drive by it every single day.
Sure.
And we basically took away the outside parking down at that home plate area. That just to, you know, it's not on the drawings because what we ended up doing, we talked to Mr. Lucer and Mr. Caraway, and then I called Ms. Lawrence just to kind of verify, hey, do we need to get anything else ready for next, you know, for the 15th? And I got a response that we should be good to go. So, you know, this is where we are. You know, kind of feel unprepared, but at the same time, we thought that we had a good proposal. We want to, more than anything, to make it look right. You know, we've been living literally around the corner the last 10 years.
Right.
Well, and I was born and raised in Rankin County. I've lived here my whole life.
We love the
so-
area, and
He's not, but he's from Czech Republic.
I didn't think he was from Mississippi.
U.S. citizen now.
That's right.
And
That's right.
living American dream, guys. So, you know.
Well, we got all that on record, that's good.
Mr. Kaiser and Ms. Kaiser, let me tell you, we want to work with you. I think that the Caraways and Losers, they want to work with you. We live in Rankin County, and you're in District 4, one of the fastest growing districts in Mississippi. And we have to, I mean, with the population growing as fast as it's growing, we have to manage what we're doing. We can end up like, and I don't want to say it, but like some of the towns in South Louisiana where you have a junkyard next to, you know, have a high-end home, it's things like that. And I don't think that you're going to do that. However, Mr. Caraway and Mr. Loser, they live in their houses. I don't know how long they live there, 20 years, 40 years. Now, they probably plan on living there the rest of their life. But most businesses don't stay in the same building for the rest of your life. Somebody else will own it. It just happens. So we got to be careful with whatever you tell us that you will do, and we believe it, that the next owner has to do that too. So what I want to do is table it. Renee can tell us when the next date. You tell me how long you need. I know that those people are going to be good neighbors. Work with them, work with, I hate to say it, Mr. Baker, no, I'm playing, that's a joke. Work and come back at the next meeting and, I mean, I would almost say I approve it contingent to doing the things that we've addressed.
Right.
So that you, if you'll do the things we've addressed, I'm gonna be for it. If the Caraways and Mr. Loser, if they're for it, and Mr. Baker says that he thinks it's a good thing, then I want you to be there.
Would it be possible for us to talk with who's gonna draw up the plans for us and see how long he thinks it'll take him?
Sure.
And us get back
Yeah,
with Renee
yes.
to be able to give you a
Yeah,
timeframe?
Yeah, let's do that. I can't, well, I've got to,
Give me one that is 2 meetings away, Renee. Tell me what that date is.
6/14.
Ma'am.
June 14th?
June
Okay,
14th.
so
Oh, we won't,
to-
wait a
to be
minute,
able to do this
14th.
adequately,
Are we gonna be here?
yes,
We're gonna be leaving right after then.
to be
Okay.
able to do this adequately, here's the issue. We need to be able to say today in this public hearing,
I even
when
have a
we're
meeting
gonna have
that
the
day.
next public hearing. Otherwise,
Okay.
we're gonna have to republish everything.
Gotcha. Okay.
That will slow that down. So I would say, Steve, that we consider setting it for 9 o'clock, June the 14th. That will be the date of the rehearing, Mark. Would that work? That's the day before MAS, we're all headed to the code, on that
Oh,
afternoon.
that is the day of him, it's a,
Yeah, y'all need to get registered when you get there in the afternoon, but we're gonna meet in the morning of the 14th. So Steve, do you feel okay about that?
But
That'll
that's
give y'all basically
good.
2 months.
2 mons.
To work with your.
How detailed you guys want it, because, you know, basically the 2 quotes we had, well, they're in the thousands of dollars. Like, does it have to have all the like, you only want the renderings, what it's gonna look like basically from the street view, or, how?
that should be a plenty, would it?
We need a preliminary, a document that's kind of a preliminary engineer. It needs to show the boundaries of the property, it needs to show, and adequately, it needs to address the issue of some sort of basic stormwater calculation, Tim, what do you think? 'Cause I don't think you're gonna need to produce the kind of document that would be required for construction drawings, to be short of that. Mark?
With regard to the bottom area, I do think there needs to be a legal description with a plat, so we can, so that area is particularly defined.
That's right.
And if possible, when the surveyor sets the stakes, I'd like to know, so I could, advise Rick, Lucers and the Caraways, and maybe they go out if she's actually granting permission to do that, so they can see the stakes and see what we're talking about. Obviously, I think that would help that could set that particular issue aside.
Yes.
If there are lighting issues, I think it's as simple, in some ways, it's as simple as advising, showing the fixture itself, the illumination, whatever it's going to be with regard to the exterior lighting and how those are gonna be aligned, so we can look at those. And then the site plan, you guys know.
So at some point, if they don't get it now, they'll have to come back yet again for the full architectural site plan review where everything is documented.
I'm thinking that those could possibly be detailed enough to allow us to move forward with both of those. But we'll have to talk about that.
It's a little
All right,
list.
Mr. Kozik, I thank you for working with us. I thank you for becoming a citizen, a legal citizen. The things that we're asking you to do, I know it costs money. I'm confident that if you go through these steps, you would have had to spend this money anyhow.
It's not gonna be wasted.
It's something that you'd be required to turn in. And I wanna work with you, and these people wanna work with you.
I don't see you spending any from, like, I agree with what Mr. Gaines said. I don't see anything you're investing is gonna be, wasted. Stuff you're gonna have to do anyway, and I don't foresee it being any problem from what he's saying and what we're hearing.
Who would handle the covenant part of not developing the bottom part in the future?
Right there.
And like
So,
I said, we're very
what-
willing to do
Then, well,
that.
that's not gonna cost you anything.
Yeah, it will. It's in your taxes. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have to pay it.
We'll all pay a little piece of that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, my motion is to table this till June 14th. and we'll readdress all the issues that were talked about.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very
Motion by
much.
Steve, second by Brad. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? I really hate we got to move to 14.
For the record, that hearing is not closed, it's recessed. For the record.
Can we do it on Friday before?
Mr. President, item I is the public hearing on the Central Electric Power Association conditional use permit. That's Highway 471, that's District 2 property. Central Electric Power Association is seeking a conditional use permit. That public hearing is open. They're seeking a conditional use permit to construct an electric substation at 1887 Highway 471. Central Electric owns 2 parcels there. They total 6.64 acres. Property is zone C2. Substations are allowed in any zoning district subject to conditional use. Public Service Commission awarded a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Central Electric to construct, install, and maintain and operate a substation at that location. So they've cleared that administrative hurdle. They're asking for a conditional use permit to be able to locate and maintain their substation there from Rankin County. That public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Central Electric Power Association conditional use permit. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. Renee, we didn't have any conditions. Oh, well, she left. We didn't have any conditions on that, I don't think. So we didn't have any proposed conditions from our side.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Brad, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
That public hearing is closed. Item J, Mr. President, is a public hearing on the Ball Deep Sing conditional use permit 1103 Shallow Oil Road, District 3 property. Mr. Singh is seeking a conditional use permit to add diesel pumps to the Country Junction convenience store at 1103 Shallow Oil Road. Diesel pumps will be for 18-wheeler fueling. Mr. Singh will also be adding off-road diesel at that location and some ethanol-free gas there. He purchased an additional .39 acres south of the existing store to provide a separate entrance off of Highway 18 for the diesel fuel area. MDOT has approved the proposed plan for that access. Let's see here. It's a 4.19 acre parcel, Zone C2. Zoning ordinance defines this use as a truck stop. The hours of operation 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Mr. Singh stated that the hours would not change after the new fueling area is installed, and there will be no long-term or overnight parking of vehicles. So this time I'll open that public hearing and ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Ball Deep Sing conditional use application. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Please come forward. If you'll do me a favor, please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Reed, 1120 Shell Oil Road. I live adjacent to the Country Junction. I'm not here as for an opposition, rather just a concern for the community. We moved from Austin, Texas, a big city, to country living, slower pace of life. We love it. However, when growth occurs, more people come to the community. No issues whatsoever with Mr. Singh's commercial venue. However, I do have concerns with the additional traffic on 18. If there is additional traffic already, that intersection at Shell Road and Highway 18 is dangerous when people are pulling out of the store, pulling onto 18, going west, I do believe. I think it would be a great opportunity to improve that area with a stoplight. Also, with additional business in the area, I think that there's an opportunity for improvement. This may not be the time or the place for internet, additional security. Right now, the internet opportunities in that area are very slim. But that's all I had. I welcome the growth as a neighbor, but I just had a few concerns.
Okay, Mr. Singh, you're gonna have to help us with some internet. And when you do that, you're gonna come north and help out there too.
And we'll all applaud, won't we, Steve? Here's the interesting thing about internet and how this is just my observation of how that all works. Telecommunications, enhanced telecommunications follows dense population. And if you've got a rural setting you are not likely to have the type of internet that you're going to have in a dense setting. So there is a trade-off. We like the country living, but we don't like the fact that we don't have reliable internet service. And there's a reason for that. When it's rural, they don't bring it. It doesn't make any money for them.
Sometimes
If they're going to serve one housetop, they're not going to spend $500,000 to get telecommunication services in one house. And that's just the world we live in. So I don't know how to, I don't think this board, certainly this board doesn't have anything to say about when or where or how telecommunications entities that are private do their business with respect to that. At some point, we hope that Mr. Musk is going to be successful in his effort to get satellites that provide for full internet coverage, and I think that day's probably out there at some point. And that's when the rural countryside will have the same kind of internet that everybody does. But until that day happens, I don't know how to fix that issue. Second issue that I heard her mention was the traffic issue. And let's face it, that's a very high-speed traffic area through there, and there's some sightline issues in there. MDOT kind of put us in a little bit of a trick bag. They approved his access. That's MDOT's highway, and MDOT gets to say who, when, what, where. They also get to control traffic lights on their state highway. And if you can manage to get MDOT to approve a traffic light at that location, we want your notes when you get that done. But we have never been able to get them to do some kind of traffic light at a site like that, ever. So if you can get it done, I want to know how you got it done and who you talked to. We can't even get a light at 18 bypass. Okay? We're still waiting on that to happen.
Without speed zones, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Speed zones, that's MDOT control as far as Highway 18 is concerned. We can only control the Shell side of that. That's also a state aid road, so we gotta have MDOT authority to do that anyway. All of that's been issued. This board does not allow, I'm getting out ahead of you now, but this board, now that I've got the floor, I'm gonna give you some information to save you some time, possibly. We don't allow speed bumps on county roads. We don't allow speed humps. We don't allow traffic calming devices. Anything that can slow down first responders, not happening on our public roads. So the short answer to your question is, you made a ton of great points, and there's really not anything that we can do to address any of those, this board. We just don't have the authority to do it, or our policy is not in favor of doing something like that for good reasons.
You're sending me on a mission.
Yep. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. You get MDOT to do a traffic light there, I want your notes, I'm telling you.
We got a couple more places you can go to.
Yeah. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition on Mr. Singh's matter? Anyone? I know that Mr. Singh's here. If you guys have any questions of Mr. Singh, I think we do have a couple of, or one condition. We would certainly want to set as a part of the condition, even though Mr. Singh has already indicated to you that he intends to honor this, no long-term or overnight parking of trucks on this location. We do that as a part of the condition because if Mr. Singh transfers ownership of the site, we want that to travel with the condition, okay?
Right.
Mr. Singh, you're comfortable with that? All right, thank you.
Now, was there a question about him, hours? He wasn't gonna run all night, was it?
Same as what?
Same
Yeah,
hours.
same hours, which, yeah, I thought I remember something about hours, okay,
5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
okay.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion approved, Brad, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
We'll close that public hearing. Mr. President, item K is a discussion of our Chancery Court reporter situation. Hayden reached out to me, Judge Roberts reached out to me to advise me about a situation that has developed. We currently in the state of Mississippi, there are no college curriculum programs for court reporting. None. Meaning there are no graduates of a licensed, certified court reporting institution in the state of Mississippi. We're actually having to go outside the state if you're wanting to get that kind of education. He did report that a community college on the coast will initiate a court reporting curriculum. They will start that this year, the fall of this year. And so he anticipates that at some point in the not too distant future, we will have actual graduates of court reporting who are licensed and certified from an accredited school that we could tap for purposes of backfilling our court reporter needs. Hayden is in need of a court reporter. He lost his court reporter to another jurisdiction. And so the market is definitely a seller's market right now for court reporting services. He wanted the board to know that he has put the word out that he needs a court reporter, but he is concerned that until he can get somebody in a permanent spot, he's going to have to use temporary court reporting services, and those fees will have to be paid for by this board, those temporary court reporting services. And he was concerned that you guys understand the details of why he's having to send orders over to pay for temporary court reporting services. Okay? Current state law requires a court reporter for all of those proceedings that he oversees, and so there is no option to not have a court reporter. And he just wanted y'all to be aware of that.
Okay.
The next item is a discussion of the Mississippi Rating Bureau notice letter that we received with respect to the Cleary Fire Protection District. This is one of those opportunities that we can actually celebrate something good that has happened in the community. You guys authorized the construction of the Cleary Fire Station, and that has turned out to be a good thing. The Rating Bureau has acknowledged receipt of this board's action recently where we expanded the Cleary Fire Protection District to include the 5-mile boundary around your new fire station. What that has done, what that will do, is allow for residents in the new fire protection district to be able to work with their insurance companies to reduce their homeowners' coverage because of this new fire protection that this board has instituted. We wanted to get the word out that we received the official notification from the Fire Rating Bureau. They have acknowledged that the new district includes the 5 miles around the new station, and they have put out an initial notice to the fire insurance companies that they have acknowledged that, and that it is appropriate for them now to address premiums as a result. So we wanted to get the word out that is now happening. This board did everything it needed to do, and now it's up to the insurance companies to follow the guidance of the Rating Bureau to do what they need to do to reduce the residents in the fire protection districts homeowners' premiums commensurately. Okay, so we wanted to make sure that the public got that information. I don't have anything else to say about that.
I just have a question. So it's just on each homeowner's responsibility then to contact. But what I have heard, and I know this almost personally, is the insurance agent says he just blew it off and said, oh, no, that's not going to help you. That's a long time down the road for that would help you. So they're really not, and this is the second one.
Yes, sir.
I know one is like almost personal.
Yes, sir.
It was my mother.
Yes, sir.
Pretty personal.
Right.
So I want to know how they can put some pressure on them, because I'm seeing some of that they're taking money out of their pocket a little bit.
They get a letter
What I'm
that
asking.
says that this area has been.
That's what I want to see. But how?
Usually the insurance adjuster, they'll punch in a button and they'll show you.
Well, that's what I'm trying to make sure.
But it
And I
might
wanna
not
be
be
able-
updated yet by now.
I want to be able to give them that answer when I'm gonna be getting phone calls.
The answer, as I see it, Jerry, is twofold. The process takes a little bit of time to make its way through the system. That's number one. The Rating Bureau did what it needed to do. Well, first, this board did what it needed to do.
Right.
It authorized the station. It expanded the district. And that took a lot of work, by the way. That doesn't just happen.
Right.
So you guys had a lot of help from your staff, especially out of EOC, out of the fire
Right.
coordinator, out of your tax assessor's office, helping us with all the mapping details. You conducted public hearing, you put notice out, you ran stuff in the newspaper. You did everything the law requires to do. This board did what it needed to do. The Rating Bureau acted quickly once it learned
Sure
that this
did.
board had expanded the district. They didn't wait. They got right on it. They evaluated the area and they put the notice out.
Much quicker than I thought they would.
So this is what's weird. The government part of this has done its job. The private company part of this is in process. And I would say this to any resident of the new district that's having trouble with their current insurance situation, call another insurance
That's right.
company. They're not the only game in town. Find the one that has figured out, okay, my premiums, if your house is in this new district, my premium's gonna be this. And let them take that to their current insurance adjuster and say, what? What y'all waiting on? That's the answer. Thankfully, it's a competitive market for
Right.
homeowners insurance
So
coverages.
basically my answer to them, because I'm gonna be starting getting phone calls, is that it is in effect, call your insurance agent company, and if they don't play ball, find you another.
Find another one.
That's right. That's what I do.
What you got, Mike?
Yes, sir. On that same thing, obviously, free market, you can go and do what you want. You can change insurance companies, number one, absolutely, hands down. Number two, every single insurance payee in the state of Mississippi has at their immediate disposal at the Mississippi Insurance Department, the Consumer Affairs Division. Those guys, that whole group is exactly what they do. If you're having issues with your insurance company, call the Mississippi Insurance Department, MID, talk to Consumer Affairs, and that is what they do. If you have an insurance company that is refusing to write the scheduled fire insurance rating, if you don't want to change insurance companies, put it on them.
I want you to send me that, because I will forward.
I'll
Send me that
I'll get you
information.
the number and text it to you in just a
Yeah.
second. And I would like to give, while I'm up here, kudos to your fire coordinator, Brent
Well,
Ishii,
I was
along with
gonna
a
do-
lot of other people. I know he has been on the phone for the last several weeks, almost daily with the rating bureau, just hammering out little small details on this thing. And yeoman's work on that, so
I
great
wanted
job
to-
on our fire
you-
coordinator and
you-
all the folks that's
You
involved
took
in
my
that. Great
thunder
job.
right there. I was gonna say the same thing. Thank y'all. I know what you've been doing, and I just didn't go unnoticed. Thank you. I've talked to Brett numerous occasions, and he's been right there to take care of the thing, so I thank y'all.
Mr. President, that was just a discussion item. Unless you guys have further questions, we'll move on to the next item under the agenda for me, which is item M, the discussion of the carpet replacement at Pelahatchie Library. Back in 2013, the board entered into an interlocal agreement with the town of Pelahatchie to provide our our residents in the unincorporated county in and around the town of Pelahatchie to have access to Pelahatchie Library at no cost. In exchange, this board agreed to do some upkeep and some maintenance and some renovation work there at the library. That project went exceedingly well. They were very happy with the outcome of that. And so at this point, however, that's been 8 years ago, and we've got a little worn carpet that's in there. And so the request has come through the library for the county to consider helping them with a little carpet replacement in the Pelahatchie Library. Your interlocal agreement is still standing. It's still active. It's in place. You are authorized under the interlocal agreement to provide maintenance and upkeep. And so it would just simply be at your discretion as to whether or not you want to participate in that project. If so, I would tender to you guys to discuss and decide whether you want to be a part of that project.
Is this something we'll carry here from on out until we?
Brad, the interlocal can be terminated at any time. It really depends on you guys. There is a little bit of a trade-off, and that is the building is under the ownership of the town. And your unincorporated county residents are able to go there at no cost under this interlocal agreement. They are allowed the same level of access as any resident of the town. So there's a benefit there. You guys are able to assist or help out. And likewise, the town is obligated to participate in that as well, funds available. So you could structure an arrangement that says, we're willing to participate in this with the help of the town in some manner. Or you can just say, we're going to take the responsibility to get the carpet replaced, and if anything else comes up in the next year or so, it'll be on the town to deal with.
I'd like to, and I've already asked for a quote to just see what we're looking at, and see how we might want to handle it, whether we want to take on the whole cookie or see what else is out there. So, I mean, it's
I'm just curiosity. Why do they have to have carpet? We've noticed carpet.
Oh, it don't have to, I'm sure they'd
Some type
love
of vinyl,
something
something.
like that.
Well, what should be,
Least maintenance.
well, that's what I'm saying, which should be least expensive,
Yeah,
because,
I don't know.
or least maintenance,
I
and
don't
I'm
know.
thinking about all this COVID
Yeah.
stuff, how carpet,
Yep.
everybody freaked out with carpet.
Yep.
I just
I
a
don't
thought.
know. I'll get them to get a
The stuff
quote
we have
both
out
ways. I'll get them.
Stuff we got in
Yeah,
there.
I
that's
love
great.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get them to quote both of them.
Yeah.
And then we can look at it. And
So really, this is just a discussion item, get it on the table.
Yeah.
It looks like we need some more information, so my suggestion would be, let's come back maybe at the work
Yeah.
session and authorize whatever
Okay.
on the
Yeah,
backside
that sounds
of
good.
what Steve finds out. As long as it's less than $5,000, we don't even have to quote it. If it's 5,000, if it's over 5,000, Steve,
Yeah.
the best way to handle that would be to give Bridget a couple of possible vendor and let her acquire the quotes for us.
Uh-huh.
And that'll help us solve the problem. I don't know whether this is under or over 5. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know
I
how
don't
big
know.
the building is.
Yeah, so
I don't know how big.
we are nearing the end of the agenda now, Mr. President, but I did want to warn you, we have a fairly healthy executive session to discuss litigation for sure, and probably a personnel item or two, so I'm just putting you on notice.
Well, what about, wait a minute, what,
You still get-
okay, all right. Keith?
Thank you, Mr. President. First item A on my part here is the approval of invoice submitted by JH&H Architects in the amount of $6,788.39 for services related to the CMRLS building re-roofing. And authority to issue the check.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
All right, and then item B, as Carl referred to earlier, this is just approval by the board for the staff to work on his request for information needed and forms to be filled out for JH&H to acquire income tax credit on a federal level.
Okay.
Before y'all act on that, can I throw in my 2 cents on it?
Yeah, because I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. I was unaware that there was a program that Carl was describing. The first time I became aware of it is when he asked, sent us the forms and said, do you think it'd be all right if the county executed this form on our behalf? So let me put it as plain as I can. That there is a program run by the federal government that, in essence, incentivizes on the backside the design and construction of energy-efficient buildings. And the way they incentivize is to provide the building owner and the designer with a tax credit for designing and building energy-efficient buildings that qualify under the program. Well, Rankin County is not taxed for income. We don't pay federal income tax. A federal tax credit does nothing for Rankin County at all. And so the program recognizes that when the building owner is a non-taxed governmental entity, there is a way for the portion of the value of the tax credit that would have gone to the building owner to be cast over and given to the designer. So what is being requested is that the, quote, building owner's allocation of the value of the tax credit be transferred to your designer. If you don't sign the form, the designer still gets the designer's allocation of the tax credit, just doesn't get the owner's allocation of the tax credit. I've done everything I can to telegraph that I couldn't understand why the county needed to be involved in this, why the county needed to spend money with the lawyer to review all this, have your administrative staff having to deal with this in their time.
I make a motion that we review this next year at this time. Give us time to look it over.
right?
I don't understand, are we gonna be reimbursed for all the things you just said?
I don't
We
think
don't
so.
get any benefit out of it?
I've not heard any indication. I was gonna say, we could, as long as our building stays dry, and we'll look at that.
Yeah.
That's the most, I never heard anything.
I'm being a
like
little
that.
bit facetious, but here's my issue with it. Before we get involved in it, and I'm given to understand, because Carl said it right here, he said, there is no obligation on the part of the county to certify, verify, whatever. I've heard that before. The issue that I have is that at some point, some federal entity wants to audit,
Oh, yeah.
account for, ask questions. Well, look here, you signed this form. That's how y'all are involved. And my hesitation is this: I understand why the request would be made. I don't, personally, I don't know that I'd have made the request without offering to at least compensate for the time, effort, and energy required. That offer has not been made. And I really just don't want the county to have to deal with the potential for some backside liability on this. I just really don't want the county to have to deal with that. And the prospect, no matter how small, that could happen. So that's why I wanted to raise it. That's why your agenda item is 16 inches of page there, so that it was clear.
Do we need a motion, really?
All you need to do is indicate that you do not wish to entertain the request at this time.
Okay, I make a motion that I do not want to entertain the request at this time. I've never seen federal money given to anybody without some strings attached. Down the road, you're gonna be audited, or there's gonna be some backlash at some point.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Mr. President, the item that's under additional business would be well served to discuss after our executive session. There is a component piece of that item under additional business that is implicated by the executive session law, and I would propose that we discuss that matter that should be discussed in executive before we act. I would give notice to those in the room that we will address item A under additional business after executive session.
Okay, all right. All right.
Mr. President, before
but-
we go into executive session, I want to, just a moment of y'all's time, if you didn't mind.
Yeah, and I want to
No,
see
go
what
ahead.
Caroline might have.
Caroline, you got something?
You got something? No? Okay, well, we appreciate your indulgence of this meeting.
Brightening it up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, join me up here, and Keith, if you'll join me up here.
Uh-oh.
Gentlemen, there's a lot of things I want to thank you for. Of course, your leadership, number one. Secondly is my building, our building, the county taxpayers' building. Where'd Jessica go?
You can't get out over there.
And thank you for the agreements that we made and been able to benefit the schools systems in our county. And my good board attorney, Mr. Craig Slay, he's one of the best I've ever seen, and I put that on record, eloquently described how we operate and the monies that we collect and things of that nature. They're all done by statute. There's nothing funny about them. It's just what we do and how the work we do and the work that Jessica and David do, and my chief deputy in court. Recognizing her for all her hard work, because she does an excellent job in maintaining our business. And of course, we basically are self-funded, self-operated office, just like circuit clerk is too. But anyway, today we want to continue our good graces. Y'all been asked for a lot of requests today, carpet for so-and-so, and maybe shoring up some court reporters, funding, and things of that nature. But we're tickled to death today. We've had a good year, and on top of the $250,000 that we've already presented to you today, I want to present to the county administrator and to the county another check for $412,375, which totals $662,375 for the year that the county chancery clerk is returning to the coffers of the county taxpayers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that will cover it.
Keith, you ain't got a trip planned.
That's your budget.
That's our budget for next year.
Authority to issue check.
Thank you, Larry. And,
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. All right, that's a hard act to follow. I hate to even say, we have a motion, need to go into executive session.
Personnel litigation is what we'll be talking about.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to go in, personnel and litigation.
executive session, okay.
Executive session.
By Steve,
Second.
motion Steve, second by Brad. All in favor say aye. All right, now to have a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go in executive session for the same reasons.
All right, thank
Second.
you. And, motion, second.
Yep.
All
All
in
in
favor say aye.
favor.
Okay.
Aye.
Yeah.